Everyone in the bank laughed when the old black woman walked in. They said she looked lost, like she didn't belong there. But none of them knew. The small, worn-out bag in her hands carried something that could change their lives forever. And when a Vin Diesel walked through those glass doors, their laughter died instantly. There was once an elderly black woman named Miss Evelyn. She was gentle, soft-spoken, and always carried a small, worn-out handbag that looked older than most of the people she met. It was a bright Friday morning when she walked into a large, modern bank downtown. People in suits were rushing everywhere. Everyone seemed busy, important, and impatient. Ms. Evelyn walked slowly, carefully stepping toward the counter. She had been a customer of this bank for over 40 years, but this was her first visit in months. Her eyesight wasn't as sharp anymore, and her hands trembled slightly from age. Still, she smiled kindly at the young teller sitting behind the desk. "Good morning, son," she said softly. "I'd like to withdraw some money from my account." The teller, a young man named Jason, didn't even look up. He was scrolling on his computer, chewing gum, and clearly not interested. This line is for business clients, ma'am," he said, with an annoyed tone. "Personal accounts are on the other side." "Oh, I'm sorry, dear," she said gently. "I didn't know." She slowly moved to the next counter. People behind her sighed loudly, tapping their feet. A few whispered things that made her heart sink. "Why do old people come here when they can't even keep up?" one man muttered. Another woman laughed and said, "She probably doesn't even have an account." Ms. Evelyn pretended not to hear. She had been ignored many times before in her life, but that never stopped her from being kind. When she finally reached the next teller, she gave him a faded piece of paper with her account number written on it. The teller took one look and smirked. "Ma'am, this looks ancient. Are you sure this account still exists?" "Yes, dear," she said. "I've kept my savings here for a very long time." He shrugged and typed for a moment. Then, without even checking properly, he said, "I'm sorry, ma'am. I don't see any record of your account." Ms. Evelyn frowned slightly. "That can't be. I just need to withdraw some money to pay my rent." The teller's tone turned cold. "Well, without an updated ID and a proper account number, I can't help you." She reached into her small handbag and pulled out her old ID card. Her hands shook and the card fell to the ground. People around her laughed quietly. One woman whispered, "Look at her, poor thing. Probably came here hoping for charity." The teller shook his head. "I'm sorry, ma'am. This ID is expired. You'll have to go to another branch or come back when you have valid documents." Ms. Evelyn smiled weakly. She didn't want to make a scene. She just nodded and said, "All right, son. Thank you for your time." She turned to walk away, but as she did, a deep voice came from behind. "Excuse me," the voice said. "What seems to be the problem here?" Everyone turned. A tall man in a black hoodie and sunglasses had just walked in. At first, no one recognized him. But when he pulled off his glasses, people gasped. It was Vin Diesel. The famous actor, known for his strong voice and even stronger heart, stood just a few feet away. He had been standing quietly in line, watching everything that happened. The teller's eyes went wide. "Mr. Diesel, oh, welcome, sir. Please come to the VIP counter. We'll take care of you right away." But Vin Diesel didn't move. He looked straight at the teller and said firmly, "No. Help the lady first." The room went silent. The teller blinked. "Sir, it's fine. She was just leaving." "I said," Vin repeated, "help the lady first." Ms. Evelyn turned around, confused. "Oh no, dear, it's all right. I can come back later." Vin Diesel smiled kindly. "Please, ma'am. Stay. Let's fix this." He walked closer and stood beside her. "Could you check her account again?" he asked the teller. The teller nervously typed again. This time, he looked closer. After a moment, his face changed completely. Wait. This can't be right," he murmured. "What is it?" Vin asked. "Her name, Evelyn Grace Williams. She's listed as the founder of the Williams Community Fund." Gasps filled the room. Vin Diesel smiled faintly. "That's right," he said. "Because of this woman, hundreds of kids in my old neighborhood got food, shelter, and education, including me." The teller froze. You know her?" Vin nodded. "When I was a broke actor trying to make it, I met Ms. Evelyn at a small food bank she ran. I didn't even have money for gas or food back then. She gave me a hot meal and said, 'Don't forget to stand up for others when you get the chance.' He looked at her with genuine respect. She kept me going when I had nothing." The whole bank fell silent. The same people who had laughed at her were now looking at her with guilt in their eyes. The teller stammered, I didn't know, sir." "I didn't mean," Vin Diesel cut him off. "That's the problem. You didn't care to know. You saw an elderly black woman and assumed she didn't matter." He turned to the manager who had just rushed over, sweating nervously. "Make sure her records are updated, her ID renewed, and her account marked VIP. If anyone ever disrespects her again, you'll be answering to me personally." The manager nodded quickly. Yes, Mr. Diesel." Right away, Ms. Evelyn looked up at Vin, her eyes full of tears. "Vin, you didn't have to do all this, dear." He smiled gently. "Yes, I did. You believed in me, before the world did." She chuckled softly. "I always knew you'd become something special." Vin turned to the counter again. "Also," he said, "I'd like to make a deposit, $1 million, to the Williams Community Fund." The teller's jaw dropped. The entire bank went silent again. Ms. Evelyn's hand went to her mouth. "Vin, no, that's too much." Vin shook his head. "Nothing's too much for the woman who taught me what kindness means." Tears filled Ms. Evelyn's eyes. The same people who had laughed at her moments ago now stood in silence, some even wiping their eyes. Vin gently took her hand. "Come on, let's go grab some lunch," he said, "just like old times." As they walked toward the door, everyone in the bank began to clap. Even the security guard stood straight, nodding respectfully as they passed. Outside, the sun was shining bright. Miss Evelyn smiled as the wind brushed her hair. "You know, Vin," she said softly, "I never thought I'd see you again." He grinned. "You always told me good people always cross paths again." They both laughed gently as they walked down the steps together. Behind them, inside the bank, the same teller who had mocked her now whispered to his colleague, "I can't believe we just humiliated a woman like that. She's a legend." The other teller nodded. "Maybe we should start treating everyone with respect before it's too late. Never judge someone by the way they look. The person you ignore today might be the one who helped build the opportunities you're enjoying. Respect is free, and kindness has a way of coming back when you least expect it, because on that day..." They laughed at the black elderly woman at the bank. Until Vin Diesel walked in. You never lose anything by being kind. But when you look down on others, you lose something you can't get back: your humanity.